Well, good afternoon. Welcome. KTN Business Today starts right now. My name is Peter Akabe. This is your 1 hour of insight into the stories that are making business headlines, not just here in Kenya, but indeed across the region and right across the world. Today, stories for you from right here in Nairobi to do with the Kenyan economy, how it's affecting you and your money. Later on in the show, we will be crossing, well, to Canada, where the G7 summit is just starting to get underway. What exactly are those perspectives? What is on the agenda? That towards the tail end of the show. Also here today, the fact that today being the last trading day of the week, we want to take a backwards look at the business events that have been shaping, well, various different stories in the week and tell you how that may affect you going into the weekend and, of course, going into next week. In studio to, well, give us that perspective, Ken Geshinga. He is Chief Economist and, of course, the lead at Mentoria Consulting. That, of course, is a company based out of Nairobi. He will be in studio to talk to us about what exactly we should be looking into going into the weekend and, of course, for the next week. Of course, a sad week that has been capped by the news that there weren't any survivors out of that crash in Kinangop, well, from the small plane that did crash there. But also good news that Kenya Airways is starting to fly into several different places this week, having gone into Cape Town and also started flying into Mauritius just yesterday. What are those stories? Well, later on the show, as ever, we want to start off with a quick look at the markets, of course, the currency pairs and what exactly they have been saying here today. We start off with a quick look at the currency pairs, the dollar, the Kenya shilling, pound, and the euro. Well, the dollar pegged at 100.74, buying 100.94, selling, while the sterling pound is buying for 134.95, while selling for 135.25 shillings. The euro pegged at 119.03, buying, while selling for 119.30 shillings. Of course, these are the stats that have been put out by the Central Bank of Kenya. They will vary slightly depending on which commercial entity you do walk into to make your change, or depending on your bank where the transaction is carried out. Now, these are the numbers from the Nairobi Securities Exchange turnover during the last complete trading performance. Our numbers are slightly delayed. Now, turnover 952 million shillings worth of shares bought and sold. Now, shares traded, these some 32 million shares there bought and sold. The NSE 20 share index trending upwards to 3,349.77 points, while 3.6 billion shillings worth of bonds were bought and sold. Well, let's look at what exactly have been driving these trends. These are the, well, most active stocks of that trading session. Kenya Power, Safaricom, Mumias, and Kenya Re. Kenya Power moving 3.11 million shares, Safaricom 1.56 million shares bought and sold, Mumias volumes of 600,000 shares, while Kenya Re moved 470,000 shares in that trading session. Well, what are the bulls and the bears? This, of course, are the winning stocks of the day, those that have been on an upward trend so far. CIC Insurance, Athi River Mining, Cement, Mumias Sugar, and IGADS. Now, CIC trending upward 6.52% to 4 shillings and 90 cents going into the weekend. Athi River Mining, Cement, they are recovering slightly, 9.62% up to 2 shillings 85 cents. Mumias up 7.14% to 75 cents a share. And IGADS trending upward 7.89% to 20 shillings and 50 cents on the day. Now, losing stocks, these are the, well, bears of the trading session: BAT, Umeme Unga Group, and Kenya Power. BAT up down 8.9% to 631 shillings. Umeme shedding 8.80% to 9 shillings 85 cents, while Unga Group is down 4.91% to 38 shillings 75 cents. Kenya Power down to 6.45%, shedding 4.4% in that trading session. Well, that's a quick look at what exactly is happening in the markets in regards to your money. Let's now go to the stories that are driving, well, this trade right across the economy. Now, the national carrier Kenya Airways has made its maiden flight into Mauritius yesterday and introduced 4 weekly flights to that country as part of its expansion plan within the region. The 4-hour flights from Nairobi have been scheduled for Monday, Wednesday, Thursday and Saturday and will fly from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, making Mauritius the carrier's 53rd destination overall. Kenya Airways has also introduced 3 non-stop flights to Cape Town this week, South Africa. This is in addition to 7 weekly flights that connect via Victoria Falls and Livingstone. The move is in line with its strategy to assert its presence and expand connectivity right across Africa.
Mauritius is an attractive destination. We are looking to enlarge our footprint in Africa. And why is that important? Because we are a hub carrier, so we need to attract more destinations to be able to attract more intercontinental passengers to Nairobi.
We believe that the timing is right, the will is there, and it's a partnership that maybe started a long time ago, but it can only get better and better. This is what we're offering to the world.
Well, of course, Mauritius is one of those places within Africa where business does get done very efficiently and continues to attract a lot of companies which want to get there into a tax haven status. Now, Kenyans have 22 days left to file their tax returns for the year 2017. Now, so far, more than 1.3 million individual income tax returns for both resident and non-resident taxpayers have been filed on the iTax platform between the 1st of January and the 5th of June 2018. The move is part of a step that, well, has been done to compare to last year, where less than 400,000 tax returns had been filed between January and April. Through a statement sent to newsrooms, KRA has urged taxpayers who are yet to submit their returns to do so as early as possible to avoid being caught up before the deadline. The penalty for late submission of an income tax return for individuals is 20,000 shillings, as stipulated in the Tax Procedures Act of 2015. Now, moving on, the only sure way to end flooding is to, well, harvest water through dams, which will be used for irrigation during dry spells and generate electricity. That is according to Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa. Now, this is in line with the government's efforts to change from relief to disaster preparedness. Here is more on that story.
The national government's long-term plan in curbing disasters in the country, ranging from floods to drought, is to put more emphasis on resilient programs other than offering relief in areas affected by drought and floods through the Ministry of Devolution. Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, speaking in Kamanyaki, Tharaka Nithi County, where he was assessing the flood situation in the county, said it's time to have a paradigm shift from relief to resilience, where more emphasis will be put on projects that will improve on food security towards giving capacity to those areas affected.
We want to move from food relief to resilience, ili tupeane capacity kwa watu kuzalisha vyakula na kujitegemea wenyewe.
The CS says the Devolution Ministry is already working closely with the county governments to initiate programs that will alleviate the losses and suffering caused by the climatic disasters through the construction of dams along the flood-prone areas like Thusi River irrigation projects, Mara and High Grand Falls dam projects to ensure food security.
Mito imefurika, tuweke maji haya. Wakati wa kiangazi, mito ikianza kukauka, tutumie hayo maji kuzalisha vyakula, kuzalisha umeme, tupige njaa marufuku.
Sentiment echoed by Senate Deputy Speaker Kithure Kindiki, who said a time has come when the nation should stop feeding her people on relief, but giving them enabling factors to boost food security, which he says it's a national shame and a collective responsibility for the leadership to manage programs that will ensure food security.
We should not be giving people relief food in the 21st century. Hiyo ni aibu, and it's a national shame. It's a collective shame for all of us, from the lowest leader to the highest leader.
Hii size ya hii dam, hata ikiwa tunataka iwe kubwa namna gani, tujue maana yake ni nini. It cannot displace 5, 6, 7, 8 locations hata ikiwa ni namna gani. Tunaweza ongea ikiwa ni sublocation 1, 2, 3, lakini mambo ya location 8 of them, hiyo tutaangalia.
The proposed 165 square kilometer high Grand Falls Dam, which will cost 150 billion shillings, is expected to hold over 5.6 billion cubic meters of water that will be used to irrigate over 250,000 hectares of land and produce over 700 megawatts of electricity. Ashley Mazuri, KTN News.
Well, if only we could get some of those plans to fruition, we could indeed feed not just the country, but the region and the entire world. Well, Kenya Power has disconnected electricity supply to City Hall recently of unpaid bills amounting to some 990 million shillings. The accrued bills relate to power supplied to various premises and installations through more than 5,500 accounts that belong to the Nairobi City County government. The county government has for several years allegedly been indebted to Kenya Power and has consistently allegedly failed to repay. Now, despite various meetings and agreements between the two parties, on the 16th of May 2018, the High Court dismissed a case filed by the City County government against Kenya Power over a 543 million shilling bill that City Hall was disputing and that had accumulated for a period up to September 2016. The county government has also accrued an additional bill of some 447 million between the 1st of September 2016 to the 31st of April 2018. Kenya Power, however, notes that it has only disconnected 2 accounts that are directly linked to City Hall. Well, we can only hope that the lights are indeed back on at City Hall and that services continue uninterrupted. Now, moving across counties, this time to Meru, the ASK Meru National Show has provided an opportunity for various organizations and institutions to showcase innovation. Now, did you know that human and animal waste can actually be a source of chicken feed? George Maringa tells us more on this innovative idea from Meru University. Take a look.
It is the second day at Gitoro Showground in Meru Town. And everywhere is a buzz of activities. From school children enjoying rides on camel and horsebacks to having a taste of the automobiles. On the other hand, innovators stand in their tents ready to showcase their unique creations. This is the ASK Meru National Show.
Farmers especially would come here and they would learn. They would get opportunity to sample modern technologies in variation.
One cannot fail to stare at 2 unique animals exhibited at the Chuka University stand. They are llama, a domesticated South American camelid, widely used as a meat and pack animal by the Indian cultures since the pre-Columbian era.
They also consume very, very little. For example, I came with just have a sack of the feed, and that will be enough for 2 days.
At the Meru University stand, we find quite an interesting innovation from students that could actually save you money. Imagine converting human waste into animal feed. Human waste is collected from a latrine like this, made by Meru University students. These insects are the black soldier flies. They lay eggs which hatch into maggots. The maggots will then feed on the waste for up to 12 days. Animal waste is also an alternative if you don't have a way of collecting human waste. The maggots will grow, and if you don't harvest them, they will mutate into flies and lay eggs again, and the cycle continues. And they are quite a delicacy to chicken and pigs.
Meaning you don't waste anything. Hakuna kitu unapoteza. Na hiyo mara nyingi hiyo waste material we don't use it na ama tuitumii. Kwa hivyo hiyo tunaonyesha hapa.
Meru Governor Kiraitu Murungi today paid a visit to the showground, while Agriculture CS Mwangi Kinjuri will grace the event tomorrow, Friday. The show, which kicked off yesterday the 6th, will proceed until Saturday the 9th and will provide an opportunity for various institutions as well as organizations to showcase their products. George Maringa, KTN News at Gitoro Showground in Meru County.
Well, just to note that due to public demand, we will be asking George Maringa to, go to the university and give us a better look and in-depth into that chicken feed story to see just how that cycle does work. That should be coming to you over the next 1 week. Now, moving on, trade relations between Kenya and Tanzania will continue to deteriorate unless significant investment is made in improving the balance of trade and trade relations. Now, this is according to the Export Promotion Council, which has said that current efforts are barely sufficient to keep trade on track.
A number of trade disputes last year saw exports value sink to levels only seen before the East African community became reality. Kenya and Tanzania are currently working hand in hand to repair the damage.
10 of the fastest growing economies in the world are in our region of the world. Also, 20 of the poorest countries on earth are in the same continent. So we have the best of both worlds. We have the best of the growth story, as well as we have a serious problem with abject poverty.
In rectifying this, reviewing the tariff and non-tariff barriers that has hurt business in the recent past will be key. Cultural differences have also in the recent past contributed to poor trade between the two regions. According to an official from KCCI, says tolerance and understanding of culture and business practices will smoothen the process.
It's a huge market from Cape to Cairo, from Mombasa to Abidjan. So to us, really speaking, we need to look at the bigger picture. Yes, Tanzania is a crucial market, and yes, we will look at it. But you know what? Let's do the business and let's grow Kenya. And yes, we need to be selfish, but with Tanzania, we need to change the tact a little bit and tell them, guys, we will do it together, and we should be mopping up the marketplace.
Tanzania also aims to create market linkages for its products with major retailers and consume their Kenyan counterparts as articulated by Kenya's ambassador to Tanzania.
What I'm calling all of us today is to start forging a real strong partnership between Tanzania and Kenya, so that together, in the next 2 years, in fact, maybe this year in my view, and our Principal Secretary, Dr. Kipto, is at the helm of this. This year, let's fix all non-tariff barriers, because I think that's the main pain points for most Kenyan businesses, and maybe also from Tanzania as well.
Julia Owino, KTN News.
Well, of course, we will be keeping a close eye on that trade move. Now, the move to change the upper rate of taxation to 35% will make Kenya a less attractive destination for investment. This is according to analysis by PKF audit consultants and tax advisors, who have said that the move will reduce Kenya's business competitiveness and erode gains that have been secured recently in the ease of doing business index.
Kenya's big earners with a 35% top tax rate in a bid to increase income tax revenues by some. Main targets are corporates making more than 9 million shillings in a year and individuals earning an income of 750,000 shillings and above in a month. PKF, however, says this will kill innovation amongst income-generating sectors.
The absolute number the government is going to net by increasing the tax, the higher tax of 35% for those entities, and to the tax band for people earning above 750,000 is going to be very minimal, compared with the government giving up on the opportunity to find innovative ways of taxing 34% of our economy in the informal sector who do not pay taxes.
So not 34%.
PKF also proposes an extension of amnesty of 6 months for the foreign income tax period to give chance to those willing to take advantage of the amnesty to do so. This is as a result of the prevailing lack of awareness of the amnesty and also to enable connection of feedback and proposed amendments. The increased time will help capture all taxpayers on iTax for purposes of wider capture.
The Kenya Revenue Authority has already statistics of people who have taken the amnesty in the last 2 to 3 months. I mean, it is in their best interest to actually expand this.
PKF also urged the government to concentrate on dealing with matters like corruption, political stability, service delivery, and investment climate. This will reduce wastage and revenue leakages, thus reducing pressure on the taxman to achieve ever-increasing targets. Julie Owino, KTN News.
Well, President Uhuru Kenyatta has included presumed opposition members in government in the latest Gazette notice signed by the head of public service, Joseph Kemio. Now, some of the notable faces that have been included include former personal aide to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, Karoli Omondi, former Ndiwa MP Agostino Neto, and former Migori MP Charles Owino. And as Chris Thairo now reports, key losers in the 2017 polls have also gotten a soft landing after being appointed to various parastatal bodies. Take a look.
Since the suppressed ceasefire deal between sworn political rivals President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, the handshake appears to have roped in perceived opposition handlers in government. Notable faces listed in the Wednesday Gazette notice include Odinga's long-term political confidant and one-time aide during his tenure as Prime Minister Karoli Omondi, who was nominated as board member to the National Oil Corporation, alongside former Ndiwa MP Agostino Neto, who becomes board member to the National Environmental Management Authority. While former Migori MP Charles Owino now becomes chairperson of the board of directors of South Nyanza Sugar Company. And in what appears to be an open move to calm disquiet among key poll losers who supported Kenyatta's re-election bid, Mombasa Jubilee gubernatorial candidate Suleiman Shabal, who lost to current Governor Hassan Joho, landed an appointment as chairperson at the board of Kenya Trade Network Agency, while former Kwale Women Representative Zainab Chizuga was nominated member to the National Oil Corporation, while former Isiolo Governor Godana Dado becomes non-executive chair of the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital Board alongside ex-Baringo Governor Benjamin Cheboy, who joins the Agricultural Board Corporation as a non-executive member. Others who benefited from the appointments include former Chief of Defense Forces retired General Julius Karangi as a non-executive chairperson of the National Social Security Fund Board of Trustees, and former Chief of General Staff retired General Joseph Kibwana as the chairperson of the Kenya Ports Authority Board. Others are former Deputy Chair of the IEBC Lilian Mahiri Zaja as a Commissioner of the Energy Regulatory Commission. Comedian Vincent Mwasia, alias Chipukizi, was appointed as a board member of the National Authority for the Campaign Against Drug Abuse, NACADA. The appointments will be for a period of 3 years, with the Gazette notice taking effect immediately. Among those who top Kenyatta 2017 supporters who are conspicuously missing are former Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar and ex-Kajiado Governor David Nkindienye. Chris Thairo, KTN News.
Well, let's now focus on oil. And the first batch of early oil from the Turkana oil fields has finally arrived in Mombasa yesterday as government moves to prove that its plan to transport oil by road remains viable. Now the trucks rolled into Changamwe to much fanfare, with government saying that this was just the first step in ensuring that Kenya finally stands tall amongst oil-producing nations right across Africa.
The 600 barrels of oil will now be stored at the Mombasa refinery. According to Cabinet Administrative Secretary, or CIS, in the Ministry of Mining and Petroleum, John Musonic, who said that this will be a game changer in Kenya's economic journey.
This is a very, very historic occasion in which, as Kenyans, we must be proud of. The journey, of course, took about 3 days to be here. And we have a very, very close monitoring system in which you'll be able to monitor all the way from Lokichar up to here.
600 barrels of oil per day will be transported over the next 3 months. Thereafter, the number will rise up to about 80,000 per day when the pipeline construction will be complete. At the moment, the refinery is not functional after it stopped operations in 2013. There is, however, hope that a partnership between Kenya Pipeline Corporation and Kenya Petroleum Refinery will see its revival.
I think the issue here is the facilities here needs to be upgraded within the latest kind of technology. And again, to reach what we call critical mass, before you can be able to meet all the production costs and so on, you must be able to produce at a higher volume.
In that period, we came in on the 1st of June of last year. So 12 months. In that 12 months, we have spent $1 billion on the operations of KPRL, the salaries, pensions, everything else here. We have spent another 200 million improving the facilities to receive early oil, and we are spending another 1.8 billion improving other facilities here.
We are all, which has been idle since the 2013. It allows the government and its partners to be able to store the crude here, and therefore also facilitate the development of the oil fields due to the requirements of acquisition of oil as they do the developments.
Most residents are optimistic that once fully revived, the sector will offer the varied opportunities to make a living. Tobias Chanji, KTN News, Mombasa.
Well, of course, to remind you that those lorries had been flagged off by the president in Nakululas in Turkana County on Sunday earlier in the weekend. It took about 4 or 5 days before reaching the port of Mombasa, and it's expected that they will continue to make that journey from Nakululas to Changamwe about once every 3 or 4 days until the 400,000 barrels that is expected to be moved entirely is complete. Well, on that note, we want to proceed on a short commercial break, but on the other side of the break, well, Ken Geshinga is still here in studio. We will be talking about what to expect going into next week. Of course, that also being budget week. Do stay with us here on KTN News. We'll be back in just 2 minutes.